Okay, we're live on Instagram now. Just waiting for folks
live
to.
on Instagram,
and Facebook.
waiting for
and
Facebook.
I think, yep, we're
Run by
all
the same people. LinkedIn and YouTube. Are we live on 4 platforms right now?
I think we're live on 4 platforms. So we got people joining the Instagram live now. We got 4 folks, 5 folks. People are coming in. Welcome everybody to the stream.
So should I be speaking welcoming them to the stream?
Yeah, you can be. I'm
All
just
right.
letting you know that we got people
Hey
here.
everyone, welcome to our live event. As you can hear, we're kind of figuring out the kinks right now in real time. But we are live worldwide, just like the World Cup, France versus Morocco. I think France is leading 1-0 going into the first half, the end of the first half. But we are live, 4 channels. Way to go, team! YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Great to see you all there. We did one of these. This is really fun. I'm really looking forward to the event. You'll notice the chair is empty next to me. My colleague Adam was supposed to be here with me, but we have 2 deliveries of these vans today over at Mercedes-Benz in Seattle, and we're really busy handling that. And Adam might pop in, but as the owner and the founder and I don't know, the guy who kind of thought of this whole thing, I feel well briefed to talk to you about everything. So what we're going to talk about today is the Metris camper. We're going to talk about the features of it, how it works, some great benefits of it. Talk about the process of maybe ordering one from us. We're going to answer live questions from the audience. We're going to do some giveaways in real time if we have critical mass. But really, for those of you watching live, welcome. For those of you that are watching a recorded version of this, and we know the last time we did this, I think we got maybe 10,000 views after the fact. Thank you for taking the time to watch the recorded video of this. So again, I'm Harley, the owner here at Peace Vans in Seattle, Washington. Welcome to the show. I'm going to start off by introducing to the van. What you see right here is a Mercedes. This is a 2022 van. Then I take a little moment and talk about the model years. And we talk about model years all the time because that's the way car dealers work. But for us, model years don't really matter. The Metris was the exact same van, 2017 to 2020. And then in 2021, they made some minor changes. And then in 22, they made no changes. And then in 23, they're making no changes. So really, it's been essentially the same van for 7 years. But let's talk about the van because it is a fantastic van. Just last night, we had a little event here in this same building with a bunch of customers and people interested in the vans. And we had a woman who was interested in, really wants one of these camper vans. But she also looked at a Dodge Caravan, but like a little mini ProMaster, like the small ProMaster. And after driving one and driving the other, it was clear like which one was the better van. This van is a fantastic driving van. I probably have, 50,000 miles that I personally like what they say butt in the seat on the van. And it is just a great driving vehicle. It's fast. I always use the example, for those of you that are local to Washington, there's Highway 84 that comes through the eastern part of the state, climbs over the Palouse and drops into kind of like Oregon. And it's a really steep climb. It's a really long climb. And in my Volkswagen Vanagon, I will drop down to 40 miles an hour. And in the Metris, like I'm accelerating at 80 miles an hour. It's just it's the 2-liter turbo motor. The turbo really kicks in and it just drives fantastic. It's fun to drive. It handles extremely well, making the steering wheel motion, but it really is an enjoyable vehicle to drive. And that's the magic of this van. It is a car you can drive every day. You can, take the kids to school or the grandkids, as a lot of our customers have, or you can, run errands in it. I park this car in every Whole Foods parking lot that I can find, and the garage just to prove that it fits in the Whole Foods parking lots as well as other ones. And it's just like this perfect car that you can drive as a daily driver. You can get rid of a car, but you can go camping on the weekend in. And so it's really lovely to have from that perspective. Because we see in the bigger vans, we get asked a lot of them, but what about a Sprinter or something like that? And we're like, those vehicles are wonderful, but they're purpose built, and they're going to sit idle in your driveway at least 200 days a year, maybe even 250, or God forbid, like 300 days a year. And your neighbors are going to be like, oh, they bought that fancy van and they don't drive it. In a Metris, you are going to drive this van all the time. You're going to run your errands in it. You're going to go camping in it. You're going to do all sorts of things in it. So I was talking again about the fun of driving it. So the speed, the handling, particularly with the lift kit. And you'll see on this van, let me share out quick. This van actually has our lift kit, which raises the van about 1.5 inches. It actually has the fender flares on it, which is just an aesthetic thing. It has some really beefy all-terrain tires I'm going to talk about in a second. So what these three things do, the lift kit, the beefier tires, well, the fender flares just make it not look like mom's minivan, to be honest. It doesn't actually add any performance to it. It creates really an all-weather vehicle. One of the questions we get asked all the time, and I think someone actually just asked it, how do these vans handle in the snow? And even though they're rear-wheel drive vehicles, these vans handle fantastic in the snow. We just took 2 vans up to Snoqualmie, which is a local ski resort. We shot a bunch of video, and we literally tried to do donuts in the parking lot, and we could not. We didn't get stuck. We put a big rooftop box on this van for all of our ski gear, and it just performed beautifully as a ski vehicle. And I've been taking one of my vans, yes, I have several of these, to the pass skiing with my daughter for years, and I've always been impressed with the way it handles. And so, you really don't have to worry about that. And then I get asked, well, I really need all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and there are definitely situations where you need that. But my experience is that those are the rare times. But if you do live, and we have talked people out of the vans, if you live in, let's say, Colorado, and you live at the end of a very steep driveway that doesn't get plowed frequently, and this is going to be your daily driver, that's a situation maybe you need four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. If you're living in an urban environment, you're just going to the ski slopes, or you're in the Midwest where it's the roads are plowed frequently, you're going to be completely fine in this vehicle, particularly if you're with our air compressor. That's our air compressor. It's going to go off about 3 times over the length of this show, because this is a working shop. We did not rent a fancy TV studio with a green screen for this performance. We're just going live in the shop right now. So I apologize for that. So the vehicle actually does brilliantly in the snow, and that's pretty much all I'll say about that. You feel free to email us questions about that, ask more questions in the chat. I do get asked a lot. Some of you may already own a van or have purchased a van. You'll notice this does have a giant rooftop box on it. And for a long time, it was a little challenging to put a lot of stuff in the box, but we actually now have stronger struts for the puppy. I'm out of the frame there. Stronger struts that we can upgrade for you, so you can get more weight in the pop top. There is a trade-off there, though, because if you don't have weight in the pop top, it can be quite challenging to bring the top down because there's more strength in those struts. But we now have 3 different flavors of struts we can upgrade or install for you. It's we have to install them, or our shop has to install them. So some compression that has to happen. It's not a DIY project. So that's just some driving updates for the van. The 2022 and 2023 is interesting. We're going to not see those vans until the end of 23 and delivering those into 24, but it's the exact same van. The major upgrades from the earlier years to the 21 and beyond really was the radio. Previously, if you wanted CarPlay or audio, Android Auto, you had to upgrade your radio, and we did that for a lot of customers. But the new radio in the Metris now has all that natively in there. There's also a 9-speed transmission versus a 7-speed transmission. I noticed no difference. I apologize to Mercedes. I know you spent a lot of R&D and time and money to do that, but I never have noticed a difference between the 9-speed and the 7-speed transmission. We do get asked, I'll go back to the all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. We get asked all the time, well, they're ever going to make it. I know they have the Vito in Europe with all-wheel drive. The sad fact is that it's not going to come to the U.S. And in fact, let's digress for a minute and talk about, someone asked about, I heard that Mercedes wasn't going to make the Metris anymore. What's happening? So we shot a long video about this, and it's true, much like, OEMs kill vehicles all the time. I think Toyota just knocked off a couple in their line. It is a very common thing. But there's nothing to like, for us, it's a non-event. The Metris, to be honest, it's actually going to come back. There's no way it's not going to come back. Maybe it'll come back as electric. I don't think it's going to come back as all-wheel drive. But they're going to manufacture them through the end of 23. We're going to have vans into 24 and even 25 that will build camper vans on, and we have a lot of them inbound. Service isn't an issue. The NHSTA, National Highway Transportation Board or Advisory Council, they require, an OEM is legally required to support a van for 10 years from the last date of manufacture. So for Mercedes, that's going to be probably December of 23, so December of 33. They have to provide parts and service for that van for that long. That's a long time. And then with the U.S. Postal Service order, as you probably know, the U.S. Postal Service owns 45,000 of these vehicles. Mercedes is going to have to support those way beyond 2033. Our post office person at Peace Vans, he's still driving a 1984 AMC post office vehicle that General Motors that bought AMC still has to support that vehicle. So while Mercedes did a great job selling this to the post office, I have a feeling they're going to regret that come like 2042 when they still have to support this van. But what that means, you're still going to have that option. Parts are going to be available forever. These vans are incredibly popular in Europe and the rest of the world. Parts are just simply not going to be an issue. So nothing to worry about on that front. I know it sounds weird to say that, but it is the honest to God truth. And we think, rumors, are rumors, and I can't really comment, but we get asked about electric. More than likely, there'll be an electric version 26, 27. It's not clear, what kind of camper mods we're going to be able to make to that. But as they announce it and roll it out, we'll obviously be in the conversation with them to assess that. I wouldn't wait, though. I honestly don't think the electric's going to have a lot of range. I do think there's going to be limitations on what we're going to be able to do in the camper version for the first few years, if we're even doing a camper version on it. So that's the vehicle. Let's see. I think that's I'll just open the door here. You guys kind of see the door. I can't really, but it's a really comfortable vehicle to sit in, too. So let's go talk about the camper features of the van. Let's see. So we're going to bring a camera because it's going to get a little awkward for a minute, team. So everyone, so I'm going to hop in the van, and I'm going to show some features here. So this is what we call the second version of our camper. So it's got, years ago when we first did this, we had a single slider cargo van that we built on. Long story with Mercedes, and we switched to a dual slider, which at first, I've said this in a couple different videos, at first we were a little freaked out. Oh my God, the Volkswagen vans only have a single slider. How can we possibly build on a second slider? Turns out we love it. I totally love it. I'll open the door here. You can kind of see through to the workshop there. But it's really lovely to have the second slider. I camp with my daughter all the time. And, they sit on the rear seat, and instead of having to go all the way around the van to throw things to Eden, I can just pass them through here. And I'll show you some features on the other side of the van in a few minutes. So you'll notice, we have this beautiful Richlite countertop. Richlite's an architectural product, extremely durable. It is heat proof. And it looks gorgeous. You have your sink here. I don't know if there's water in the tank. Oh, there's water in the tank. So I probably should wash my hands, having just come from Mercedes. But you have a little sink here. You have a 6-gallon water tank back here. Very easy to access, clean, fill. There's a fill port on the other side. We get asked all the time about gray water. There isn't a gray water tank in here. We can actually install one if you want, but it ends up consuming all the space in this cabinet. We do sell a little portable soft bottle that will screw onto the catch if you want to catch your gray water that way. As a Leave No Trace company, we do recommend, if you are going to let your gray water drain, to put a little bowl under there to catch it. So some other features of the cabinet you will see. We have lights, and we have 2 series of lights. We have one that's inside the van, and then we have one that's angled for outside the van. So if you're on the other side of the van, you'll have light there. You have your little control panel that talks about the auxiliary battery. And this actually isn't that important anymore because all the auxiliary battery information is available via Bluetooth. How's the audience doing? Should we do a giveaway? Let's do a giveaway. If you're in the chat room, you can win a free t-shirt. The first one that can tell me in the chat room my kid's name. So I said it at least once in the conversation. And if you know me and you've hung out with me and you've watched our videos, you've probably grown up with my kid who's been in many videos. So feel free to take your time. We'll announce a winner and you'll get a free t-shirt we'll ship out to you just in time for the holidays. So there's that. Did we get someone? No one.
We're gonna wait. We'll give them a few minutes.
We'll give you a clue. I'll give you one clue. It's an Old Testament name. Okay, so Old Testament name. And then we'll come back to that.
Marnie Crawford Samuelson.
Really?
Yeah.
Marnie Crawford Samuelson. You got it? Eden.
Yes.
Yep.
Like Eden. There we go,
Eden,
Marnie.
correct answer.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for paying attention to our videos. Eden, or as they say in Hebrew, Adon, Old Testament, Garden of Eden. Oh my God, if she ever watches this, she's going to kill me. So we have two stoves. So we used to have an integrated cooktop with fixed propane. We did away with that. We just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to redesign the cabinet to create a lot more flexibility. So we have two stoves. We have one here. So this is what I call the inside stove. So it's butane, burns really clean. You can leave this in the drawer. You can move it onto the countertop. You can even take this stove out to the campground if you want. But it's here. It's really good for boiling water really quickly or one-pot meals. There's also, we don't talk about it a lot, there's actually an induction cooktop that fits in here in this space. So if you were going to be at a place with shore power where you could plug the van in, we could, the induction cooktop could be an option. We actually had no one do that, but I just like to comment that there is that option. So this closes. Then you have your fridge. I have no idea what's in the fridge. Oh, nothing, but it is really cold. So you have a little, ice tray in here, and it actually will make ice. Really great to have a fridge built into the van. This van has a heater. I'm not going to turn it on because it will get hot in here in about 2 minutes, and I'll start to sweat. But it's a heater, ties into the fuel tank, super clean burning. They use those in Europe all the time. I love the heater. It's another expense, and we know it's already an expensive product. But if you can afford the heater and you want shoulder season camping or winter camping, heater's a fantastic thing. Even with the pop top up, you will be able to keep the van warm. And it just sips fuel. It's almost no fuel consumption. So that's the heater. I'm not going to turn it on. You've got the cabinetry, beautiful. We use two different materials. This cabinet is actually a bamboo. The other cabinets are a Baltic birch. They're the identical cabinet. The bamboo we did as a sample in this van. It's a little, we're just having a little hard time sourcing it right now. It's actually not available currently. When it comes back available, we'll definitely have it as an option. But the Baltic birch, we used to get Russian birch, but I don't know if you know what's going on in Russia right now, but you can't get any Russian products. So we do, it's a Baltic birch. So that's kind of the cabinet highlights. Let's see, what else are some great features? There's some great cubbies. These cubbies here are super nice. When the bed is made, and I'm actually going to make the bed right now. I'm going to get right into the bed. So making the bed is easy. Flip it up, flip this over, flip this down. A lot of times this part is already down, and there's the bed. So the great thing about these cubbies, the way it is placed, when you're sleeping, I just put my stuff here. I put my hat, because I wear a hat all the time, but I don't wear it where I'm sleeping unless it's really cold. And I'll put my hat in here. There's a charger back here in this back cubby, so I'll charge my phone back there. I don't really like my phone next to my head when I sleep, but I'm guilty of that sometimes. You have more storage up here. Again, you have this rich light material which will not warp, is incredibly durable and beautiful. We have magnets so the doors don't actually slide while you're driving. Just a million little details like that. And that's really, the Peace Van's promise to you. We've thought all this through. It's impeccably built. But I will say, it's impeccably built, but it is still it's kind of a bespoke product. We hand build these vans. So there are, going to be small variations and, little bit of imperfections because it's not a mass-produced product. A lot of times they're character. Like I can even see on this van, like for example, like this. Say if you know, like you probably didn't even see this, but this is about a 64th of an inch lower than this one. It's. I didn't even notice, but I just like to point that out. You're getting super high quality stuff, hand built, but minor imperfections. And then let's look at this side because this is a brand new feature this year. Over here, as Leo tries to manage the camera in here. So we actually did away with the OEM panel. We manufacture our own panel for mirrored cubbies on this side. So at night or while you're driving, you have a little bit of extra storage over here to stash your stuff. It's also a flat spot up here for more stuff too. Again, like my hat could actually go up here now. I'm not confined to this side of the van. I could go to this side of the van too. Back here, you'll also see there's some USB ports back here. There's some on both sides. You have the curtains are hand sewn by this wonderful woman. We're going to do a blog post soon on all of our vendors. We're really proud of who we support, who we partner with. Rebecca hand sews all these curtains for us, and she has built a business alongside our business. So we really appreciate your support that we get to support people like Rebecca. It's also a part-time, I think, cod fisherman. She splits her time between seamstress, primarily working for us, and fishing. Just a great story. And like I said a second ago, all of our vendors, great stories. I think of the team from CycleFab, the team that actually makes this panel. They're a small aerospace manufacturing company. So it's really nice to, work with people that are just best in their field to deliver super high quality product. So that's the back of the van. I'm getting a little claustrophobic in here, because I've got 3 people in here with me. But even with 3 people in here, it actually feels pretty comfortable and roomy. I could take a nap. So let's step outside, and I'm going to pop the top actually, and then we'll take some questions in a minute. I'm going to actually leave the bed. I'm going to make the bed. I'm going to show you how easy it is to make the bed. I just reach back under here. I push up, and you can see there's a drawer under here too, which stores stuff. I'm going to close the seat. And then the drawer is easily accessible. The drawer actually comes out too. We were talking earlier about winter. And winter, I got to put my hat back on. It's like my security blanket. So the drawer, like in winter time, if you don't have the rooftop box or something, you can take the drawer out. It comes out like any household drawer. Leave that at home, and you can store your long things underneath the seat. We'd have customers with surfboards, skis, etc. So just one other sort of traveling tip. So the pop top, now, really it's the secret sauce. This is the thing that makes these vans special. I would say 98% of the vans we build get a pop top. Every once in a while we do get someone like, I don't want the pop top. We're like, why? They're like, I'm never going to use it. I can't get up in it. I just don't like sleeping up there. First of all, it's actually quite easy to get up into. But number 2, what it does is it gives you, like right now, you can see I'm pretty straight. I'm about hitting this, although it's soft. So it's small in here. It's a small camper van. All the benefits and the trade-offs of a small camper van. But when you pop the top, I'm going to do this here right now. Undo these little fancy German snaps that I can never really figure out. I'm going to undo my straps. And if you buy a van from us or rent a van, you'll get an extremely, extremely detailed orientation on how to do everything. I can actually do it while I'm looking at the camera without looking at anything, but I'm going to double check. I don't want to push up and be all embarrassed. Okay, it looks like everything's done. So I'm going to push the top up. Now, it does have the rooftop box on in the stronger stretch, so I might struggle a little bit. But once it gets going, it's there, and it's up. And I'm going to push the bed up. Throw this guy up there. Now, this is where it's really sad, because 3 years ago when we did our other live event with COVID, we staged this whole thing, and my kid was actually up in the pop top, and she was missing school because of COVID, and she's not here right now, and I miss her. She's in school, it's all good, but that was really fun, and that was actually the number 1 thing most people commented on the video. So we don't have a stage, someone jumping out of the pop top, but now you can see I'm going to stand up, and you can see my torso and how much room I have in here. It's really, really lovely. I'm going to open one of the windows, get some light in here. So the tent has 3 windows. One of them, you see, this one is actually a fixed window. And that's really nice if it's raining and you want to get natural light in here. But let's talk real briefly about the rain in the tent. You get asked that all the time, particularly in the Northwest. The tent is fine in the rain. Like we leave the rain up, we leave the tent up. I go camping. Yeah, it gets a little moist on the outside, but there is no rain penetration to the inside on the tent. And I just love the way the van looks with the rooftop box and the tracks and the pop-up. What you see here is an awning. I'm not going to open that because there's just so many videos online about how to use the awning, but it comes out about 6 feet 6 inches and it's 8 feet long. So it's about, what's that, 6 times 8, 48. It's about 50 square feet of coverage you get, which is pretty nice. Math. I was able to do math. So that's the pop top and the awning, the heater, the van. We have some questions.
So for the heater, if you don't have propane, can it run off with gasoline?
Yes, great question. So let's talk about the heater. It is such a great feature, and we can actually put heaters in Weekenders. So, you know, the Weekender is a version of the van that doesn't have the fancy cabinet, just has the pop top and the full length seat in there. And historically, we wouldn't put heaters in those. But we found a location to put the heater. So the heater actually, it doesn't run on propane, it runs on gas. So we drop the fuel tank, we tap into the fuel tank, which is very common. People have been doing that on Sprinters forever. People do that on Metris in Europe, or it's called the Vito in Europe. And then the little fuel pump just pumps fuel into the heater and combusts and makes really, 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 really warm air and warms up the van. So we can do that in a Weekender, we can do that in a camper, and it consumes almost no fuel. Like you can run it, I think it's 1 gallon for about 24 hours worth of use, which is almost nothing. You do need a minimum of 1/3 of a tank because the little standpipe that goes under the tank doesn't go all the way to the bottom. And that prevents you from like running out of gas while you're using your heater. And if you have a getaway van, as those of you that know what the Getaway Project is, that was something we did with Mercedes back in 2020, where they effectively licensed our design for the Weekender to them. They rolled that out to dealerships nationwide. Turns out like most people wanted to deal with us. They didn't want to deal with a dealer. So, you know, that program kind of has faded away, and now we do all the sales of those vans. So if you want a Weekender, there's a few getaways still out there at random dealers, but really it's kind of piece vans you have to deal with. Another question.
We have a question. Is there any place for locking storage?
Yes, that is a great question, and I love that question because between the center seats, and I'm not going to bring the camera back in the van, there's a lock box, and it sits between the seats, flush, so the seats still swivel. And 2 great things about it, and I should have mentioned this when I was talking about our vendors. The guy that makes that, Dave, Vanagon Life Dave is what we call him. We've known Dave for 10 years. He is just, I mean, the phrase is salt of the earth. He is just like a brother to me. He's just a fantastic guy. He's a craftsman. He works out of Salem, Oregon. He makes these locking center consoles. He started in the VW world, so we know him really well from that. And then he moved into like Sprinters and ProMasters and all sorts of things. And we reached out to him and said, Dave, will you make a center console with the Metris? And he was like, oh my God, I would love to. So Dave makes these center consoles, and they're bomb-proof. There's nothing is getting in there. Like no one's going to break into there. Like they'll break into the window, they'll break into the van. They're not getting into that locking center console. We also had a question about the table, inside the table. There was a rumor that we changed the table design, and that rumor is true. So historically, so if you look here, there's this little boom on here, and there's a little lag that stores in the drawer. There's a table that sits across here, and historically, the table stores on the back of the rear seat. And we always thought, oh my God, that's so elegant and beautiful, it doesn't take up space. We got feedback that it was actually quite inconvenient to get to the table. Now the table that sits on the rear of the seat has like these cool recessed integrated legs, but we decided to make the trade-off of building a table that stores right here. I'm going to pop it out. I'm not going to set it up. So there's a table that stores right here, and it just slides out, and you'll see it's matching rich light. just like the countertop, and then it's, you know, just fits into place right here. Well, why not? Why don't I do it? Show you how quick it goes. So I'm going to take the leg out and this up. Now, I always tell people, make sure that the leg actually hits a solid surface. So I'm going to let you see it's dropping down to that. Put it on there. And then I'm going to put this over here. And there's a little spring mechanism that catches it. There we go. And now you have a table.
Would the new table fit in the drawer in the Weekender?
Yes, great question. It will. Yes, the new table will fit in the drawer in the Weekender. Now we can actually retrofit this for you too. If you're local to Seattle, there's definitely a way to sort of if you want this feature, get this out to you in your van. If you're not in Seattle, I mean, I'm sure we can ship you the table with some instructions and maybe find someone to help you. But the hardware hasn't changed at all. This leg is still the same leg. So you can go inside the van, outside the van. I call this kind of like the dining version. Yes. And I'll swivel the seat.
We also have a question about how much bed space is available.
It's like 2 double beds. I think they're both like 48 to 50 inches wide and about 6'3" length. So, they're small beds, but, 2 adults fit in both of them. 2 kids easily fit in them, but sleeps 4 people. So this is what I call card playing version. So, 1 person there, 1 person there, or dining. So now you have like all sorts of table space or remote work. We actually have one customer, we're going to install a Starlink system for him. The vans don't have an inverter, so you can't get 110 power unless you're plugged into shore power. But for him, we're going to install an inverter tied into the auxiliary battery system. And he's going to be able to plug in his Starlink satellite. And we're going to put a mount on the pop top. And he's going to have high-speed internet anywhere he goes. Question?
And then we have a question about shower, toilet add-ons.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
So, that's one of the trade-offs with a really small camper van. There's not a lot of quote-unquote wet facilities. What we see people do, we definitely will retail a small little porta potty, and it can store kind of on the floor here. It can store behind the seat. It's really best used for what we call nighttime number 1. You really just want to, like quick pee in it. Maybe if you're on a road trip, you don't want to use the really disgusting bathroom at the remote place, but you're responsible for emptying it. But a company named Dometic makes it. They're leak proof and they're completely sealable and usable units. They do take up space. Shower, we actually recommend a product called Rinse Kit. It's a standalone shower thing. I went to a desert camping festival, Burning Man, this year, and I brought a Rinse Kit with me, and it was so convenient. It's a standalone unit. They have all different sizes. You fill it with water, and it's powered by like a little pump, USB, little battery powered pump. And it's so convenient because you can actually take it to the beach with you. If your dog is filthy and you don't want to wash them like in the van or next to the van, you can be like 6 feet away from the van. And it's a standalone unit. We have a couple different varieties we can sell you, or you can just buy them retail. We definitely have had customers rig shower things off the rear, the tailgate. This one customer, my God, they had a whole hot water system, a curtain system. It was all DIY and it was beautiful and it was extremely well done. But we don't offer anything like that out of the box. We have been asked to, like, in this configuration with the pop top, like you could, in theory, put a little shower pan here and put something up there and take a quick shower if you wanted, but you would need like the Rinse Kit product for that. Other questions? So I think we had a few others from before, but so that's the table.
Someone asked, if I can interject, would the new table fit in the drawer on a Weekender?
Yes, I think I answered that question.
And is the table storage the same for the Weekender?
Oh, good question. Actually, it's a really good question. I'm embarrassed. I don't know the answer to that. I think on the Weekender, I think we default to the table in the drawer. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'll follow up with that. Whoever asked that question, email us modern@peacefence.com.
Is the bed space wider on the Weekender, or is it the same?
Yes, the Weekender bed, and that's so we see people. We get asked, Weekender camper, and it's actually it's not true. Most people don't kind of waver or can't decide. A lot of people that want the camper. There's some sort of aesthetic. I'm going to change the light here because I think it's kind of on me in a weird sort of way. Or whatever. It's okay. A lot of people want the aesthetic of the camper, where they had a Eurovan, a Volkswagen, or they've always dreamed about a small camper van. They like the feeling of home and everything's all there, and maybe the ability to make a quick meal inside or have their stuff available. And if you really want the camper, you're not going to be happy with the Weekender. On the flip side, the Weekender is more utilitarian. It's, there's this cabinet isn't here. You're not locked into using our stove setup, our fridge, our lighting. You get to pick your own stuff. And you also get a much wider bed. I think it's at least 7 inches wider on the Weekender, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually makes a big difference. I always tell people, if you're a family of 4, the full camper's small. Like, this seat does have 3 3-point seat belts and 2 ISOFIX latch point for car seats. But it gets, I have put 3 kids on this rear bench seat and they are okay, but they were like best friends. If I had 3 kids and they were typical kids that fought all the time, like that might be a little too much. Did have one family of 5 about 4 years ago from Salt Lake City. They really wanted the camper, 3 kids. I made them fly up from Salt Lake City to make them. They drove, they wanted to. I suggested strongly that they drive up from Salt Lake City, and they did, and they sat their 3 kids on the bench seat, and they all fit, and they were happy, and they bought it. We've actually, in like 4 years, I think we've only heard from them once. I wonder how they are. The Rich family, if the Rich family is watching, let me know how you guys are. It's been a while.
We have another question about the driver's seat. Linda Walmer is wondering, does the driver's seat still not go back as far for legroom with the camper versus the Weekender? This was the determining issue for us when we bought.
Interesting, Linda. Yes, Linda. Linda, great to hear from you. Hope to see you in the neighborhood. I don't want to give out personally identifying information, but Linda actually lives near both me and our floor manager, Aaron. You're right, Linda. Yeah, you can even see here, the seat does kind of not go back the full way. You definitely lose about 1 inch of travel in the camper. And for some people, that makes all the difference. With that said, we have plenty of 6'2", 6'3" people that get a camper and squeeze in there. And it's the kind of thing, once you're in, you're in. And but you definitely lose. And Linda, your husband's name is Bill. Yeah, Bill's tall. So yeah, I get it. So yeah, that extra inch of travel does make a difference. We actually can remove the swivel seat on the driver's side, because the driver's seat only swivels about 120 degrees. So it's not a full 180 because the camper's in the way, or the cabinet's in the way. And that actually gives you a little more height. Doesn't change the travel back, but it definitely changes the ergonomics a teeny bit.
We have another question that's been asked earlier, but may have joined afterward. Raymond is wondering about Mercedes moving away from the Metris and other chassis options,
yes.
Possibly all-wheel drive.
So we did address this, and there's a great video on the website about it, as well as a bunch of language. Yeah, like I said earlier, OEMs kill vehicles all the time. It's not an uncommon thing. They're legally required to support a vehicle for 10 years from the last date of manufacturing. So for the Metris, for the internal combustion Metris, that is going to be 2033. And with the U.S. Postal Service order, they're going to be supporting this van into like the late 2030s. Parts are going to be available forever because it's an insanely popular vehicle in Europe and the rest of the world. And then finally, it's going to come back. Like within 60 days, Ford, Dodge, and Mercedes all canceled their small vans. The small van market in the U.S. is huge, and they're going to come back. As far as all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, that is not going to. I wouldn't wait for that. Electric. I think more than likely it will be an electric version of something like the Metris from Mercedes. I wouldn't expect it till 26, and in consumer hands till 27. I think it will still have limited range because it's going to be designed for in-city delivery markets. And they don't know, from what I understand of the engineering with the batteries in the floor and the center of gravity changing. What they're going to allow us to do on top is going to require a lot of engineering. But as soon as they announce that, I'm sure we'll be invited to design reviews and upfitter meetings to discuss that. But it's at least 4 or 5 years away. We will be getting 2023 model year vans well into 24 and manufacturing them into early 25. So other chassis options, I hate to say it, Raymond, there's nothing. Like you can look at a Toyota Sienna, which is a minivan, and I think there's one person that will put a pop top on it, but it's not crash tested. I think it's poorly made. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But really, there's no other small vehicle in the U.S., which is crazy. But it's just fact of life. So if you want one of these, like we've seen demand increase, and it's kind of bizarre, but we think we won't sell out of all the remaining Metruses till this summer or even this fall. But they're definitely selling at a fairly rapid clip, and they're holding their value. It's going to be a lot like the Volkswagen market, where these things are just going to increase in value as they're no longer available. Other questions? I think there was a few other questions on the list. Oh my God, look who it is. When it's Adam showed up.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Adam, I think we're kind of running out of time.
That's fine.
There's a few other, did you get a few other questions on there? What's on that?
We had someone just ask about pricing for the Weekender and what's available for order now and in 2023.
Great. Oh yeah, let's talk about ordering.
Yep.
So actually, if you are going to order, and it's Adam and I. So we're like a small business. I know from the outside with our Instagram account and all the great work Sam and Taryn and the marketing team do, it looks like we're this massive entity, but we're actually really small. I mean, if you're going to buy a van, you're going to talk to Adam or I, most likely Adam. And then when you pick up your van, you're going to deal with Joanna or Adam or me. And if you need service, Leo, or it's a very small team. So ordering a van, really the best thing is just to reach out to us directly. Go to peacevans.com. It's a whole bunch of information about Modern. There's an order form, and you're not obligated. Once you fill that out, it just gives us the information. There's also buttons to schedule a call, and it links right up to Adam's calendar and my calendar. You can schedule a call and discuss. So that's the easiest way to get an order in. Again, nothing's binding, nothing's committed. It's just us gathering information so we're informed when we do have a call with you. The vans, like I just said a minute ago, they are selling. And we're really trying to reach out to people right now. If you want a van for summer of 23, you need to order that van in the next 60 days. Right now, historically, we're 6 to 9 months out from delivery, but our production team, I almost said my production team, I hate that because they're not my team. They're it's the team. They've done an amazing job, and we're really 3 to 4 months from order to delivery right now. So if you want something spring or summer, get that order in and let us know. We still have a good selection of colors. They're all 2022 vans, 2023 vans. They're the exact same van, except they are $5,000 more. So Mercedes, they saw the dealers marking everything up, and they said, we don't want the dealers to make money. We're going to sell to the dealer at a higher price point. So don't wait for a 2023 because they're going to be just out the gate $5,000 more than the identical 2022. So grab one of the remaining 2022 vans ASAP. Pricing, just reach out to us. It's all on the website. We're super transparent. The vans are expensive. Our product is expensive. We wish we can make something, more affordable, more accessible. We're trying to, but it's just, as you see, the quality of what we build and the no compromises method. The no compromises mindset, it just adds up. So yeah, Adam or me, or call or email, or we're super responsive. I kind of had a previous career at Microsoft where Steve Ballmer emailed me at 3 a.m. I had to respond by 4 a.m. So I'm really comfortable with responding to your emails in a really timely fashion. Sometimes I freak people out because they email and I reply in 5 minutes. I tried to back that out a little bit. Another question.
We've got a question from Tom from Michigan. He says, hello,
Go Blue.
Can I get a Weekender without the pop-up? So just the bench bed, table, and swivel seats. He's looking just for the basics.
Yes, love that. So we can totally do that. And I say Go Blue, but that's cheesy. Maybe you went to Michigan State. I went to the University of Michigan. Yeah, absolutely. And we actually think, we think we were going to do a product called the Loaner, Loner, for like just one person, no pop top, or maybe just a pop top, no rear seat, or just give people more flexibility. But absolutely, Tom, if you want to buy a van, and we have, buy one of our vans out of our allocation from Mercedes-Benz, let's talk about that in a second. We'll allocate a van to you. We'll do the rear seat. We'll do all the bells and whistles you want. You want the heater, you want the operable windows, whatever you want, we'll do, and we'll leave the pop top off. No problem there.
Yeah, and I think Tom emailed. I'm guessing it to you, Tom. So I will be responding to you this afternoon. So
super fast too,
for sure.
Similar question here, sort of a BYOV question, but if someone has a van already, can we just do the roof and the bench perhaps?
Totally. Whatever you want to do. Like we talk about we have two versions, it's all we do. And the BYOV is just hard because we're focused on manufacturing new vans and our processes are built around that. But you just reach out to us and have a conversation. We'll find a time to schedule that work in and get it done. You can see, you can't really see, we have plenty of inventory, we have plenty of capacity. It's just a scheduling issue with BYOV vans right now. We did have a window last summer where just Mercedes wasn't giving us the vans in a timely way, where we're doing BYOV vans like that. I do want to talk real briefly about ordering a van because people get confused. There are two steps to the process. There's the van, and you buy the van technically from Mercedes-Benz of Seattle. While we are technically a licensed auto dealer in the state of Washington, that's more of a formality versus, we're selling you the chassis, what we call the chassis. So that's a deal with Mercedes-Benz. And now you can finance that. You can buy that in cash. You can use your local credit union, your local bank, and buy that. And typically you do need to buy that as you start the process. So you might own that van for 3, 4, hopefully not 5 months, but you might own that van for a few months while we're working on it. And then there's the conversion, which is our part. And that's a deal with us. That's, essentially a cash deal. We don't offer financing. But, we need a 50% deposit. And then, so it's 2 transactions. But you don't deal with Mercedes-Benz of Seattle until we say it's time to deal with Mercedes-Benz of Seattle. Don't bother calling them or talking to them. We have a giant pool of vans that belong to us that are over on their lot, or they're over in Spain still being built, or they're in Charleston, being the final assembly before they get shipped out to us. Yeah, another question.
We have a question about how tall the Metris campers are.
Yeah.
What is the official number? It's like 70.
Yeah, we're fairly kind of, we over-exaggerate our numbers a little bit just to be safe. But for the most part, it's about 77 inches with just the pop top. And if you have the suspension lift, the optional larger tire, and the awning, you're sitting right around about 81, in between 81 and 82 inches. So for most standard garages that are 84 inches, you have plenty of clearance still. The only thing that usually throws that over that number is going to be the roof rack, kind of the crossbars, and those are removable, so you could use those when you need them, take them off if you want to put the van in the garage. So yeah, great question. I get asked that a lot.
Yeah, most garages are 7 feet or taller. Although if you have the classic 100-year-old Craftsman house, you can be in that crossbeam can be sagging down to 5 feet even. Yeah. Great question. Other questions? So Adam was the one that took the van out to the snow.
Yeah.
You weren't here, but I was telling about how much fun it was in the snow and how capable it was, and
very much so. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say I wasn't surprised, but I was also surprised. It just handles super well. Driving in the snow is great. Really even trying to make it lose traction with that modern traction control. It really acts kind of like a limited slip where it doesn't let you slip or slide around. And at some point I did turn off the traction control and try to make it slide around, and it does that. So if you want to have fun in the snow, turn off the traction control, go do donuts. But if you don't want to do that,
so does it distribute the power to the wheel that's not spinning?
That's slipping. Yeah. So if one starts slipping, it stops that wheel and starts the other one going. Right. So it really, if it feels it's slipping at all, it doesn't let the back end slip or slide out. And I always kind of equate it to, most people are, they're thinking about grandpa's, rear-wheel drive vehicle, didn't have any of that modern stuff, and this handles so much different than those types of vehicles. And then with the weight that we put in the back of the van over the rear axle, it makes a huge difference as well. So yeah, I mean, I was very, very, very happy with how it handled the snow. It's great.
And we knew that.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a lot of experience driving the snow, but we literally like took 2 vans, deep snow, shot a lot of video to demonstrate that.
Better than I remembered. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just handles great. So yep.
Yeah. Other questions? We got a few more.
For a BYOV project, how long would that take? Would it be the same time frame as?
You know, it depends on the scope. No, it wouldn't. So scheduling it in, yeah. Like we're not going to be able to squeeze into BYOV for a couple months, and then the van is typically here for like probably 6 weeks. While the work doesn't take that long, we just have to account for variability in our schedule and getting it in. But you know, just work with us. You know, we're able to do it. It's just, you know, requires a little finesse.
And then does the Metris come in just one length, or is there multiple options?
The Metris does come in 2 lengths. This is the 126 inch, and there's a 135 inch. We don't build on the 135 inch. The pop top actually has never been crash tested on the 135 inch. We've never gotten approval from Mercedes to do any sort of build on the conversion on the 135 inch. All of our engineering is for the 126 inch, so that's what we stick with. You know, and that's just what we get. So, and those longer ones are almost impossible to find anyway. So we find it's, you know, there's plenty of room in there.
We had one other question we might have missed earlier, but Happy Van Man is asking, how long can you run the fridge on the battery before you have to charge?
Great question. I actually skipped the whole auxiliary battery part, so let me just back up and talk about that. So the standard battery is a 100 amp hour sealed lead acid battery. You know, how much you can charge devices, run the fridge, run the heater on that, it's really a function of the fridge in particular. It's a function of the ambient temperature outside. You're like today, it's 34 degrees in the Northwest, you're outside. Fridge isn't really going to run that much, so you're not going to draw down a lot of power. You're in the desert camping, the sun's beating down on the side of the van, fridge is going to run nonstop. So I would say on that stock battery, if you just the fridge, no lights, no charging, no anything, we've seen people get 48 hours on the fridge in like normal climate, maybe even 72 hours. Why, as my kid would say, YMMV, your mileage may vary. I think that's the, thank you. So, but now we did go out and source a 150 amp hour lithium battery that fits in the same location. That's available for an extra charge. It's a super nice upgrade. Like you can, you know, it basically 150 amp hours of lithium. It's basically tripling the battery capacity. So you'll be able to run that fridge for 3 or 4 days. You'll be able to charge some devices. But if you're boondocking, you can always just plug in a solar panel and get indefinite charge into that battery. So again, it's kind of a hard question to answer because your mileage may vary. But we definitely have seen people run that battery down, and then you got to go drive the car or plug in your solar panel. Now the batteries are isolated. Just because you run down that auxiliary battery, you'll still be able to start the car and go away. That won't happen.
Similar to the battery question, we have someone asking, is it possible to install a dual alternator?
Oh God, no. And you know, the thing is with the Metris and the size of the battery, like that alternator is throwing up way enough electricity to fill that battery really quickly. You really see a dual alternator in the Sprinter scenarios where you have like 400, 800 like amp hour banks of battery, where like the stock alternator will never fill that up.
Yeah.
But the Metris alternator and the battery, even the larger lithium battery, like the second alternator, it's useless. It would be redundant.
Yeah, and when we do install the larger lithium battery, we're putting in a DC to DC charger, which helps kind of accelerate the charging of that battery. It gives it a lot more power, like that battery can handle, compared to the stock AGM battery that is kind of regulated a little bit lower. So, yep.
Yeah, it's been really fun to like offer that upgrade. Yeah. So if you have a van and you're just checking in, you want more, you find you're draining your auxiliary battery, like we can definitely, you know, source the battery for you, fulfill it, you know, maybe work with a local team if you're not local to us or you're not willing to come to us to how to do that upgrade. It's not just a straight swap of the battery. There's that DC to DC charge controller, have them set, and some additional wiring that has to happen.
Yep.
So also something that we touched on a little bit earlier, but Dorothy is wondering, is rooftop solar available?
Great question, Dorothy. We don't do it. We can do it, but building on my question earlier, the alternator is putting out so much electricity that when you're driving, it's just pumping, electrons into that battery. And what we've seen, and this comes from our experience in the Volkswagen world, where we ended up like deinstalling solar panels for people. It's way better to have a flexible panel that you can plug in to the back of the van and walk the panel into the sun. So if you're at a campground and you want to use solar and it's on your rooftop, you need to make sure like your van is parked in the sun, which is oftentimes the last place you want to be parking. Like you want your van like camped in the shade. So what we will do is we supply a 120 watt solar panel, folds down to a really small, small shape. And then there's a plug in the back of the van with a 25-foot cord, so you can plug that solar panel in and walk that all day long, just move that into the sun as you need be. If you absolutely had a specific use case of putting a solar panel on the top, we could do it, but there really is no reason to do it. Yeah. Other questions? I think there were a few before we started. Some people sent some in prior. Or did we cover them all? Let's do one more giveaway. Okay, we're gonna do one more live giveaway. Let me think. What is the mattress called in Europe?
I like that.
First one who can answer what is the mattress called in Europe? Get your choice of a sweatshirt, t-shirt, or a beanie. We have an answer. We'll give the audience like 1 minute to answer, and then we'll go on from there. If you're watching this tape recorded or not. Dating myself. If you're watching this recorded, oh my God, so embarrassing. If you're watching this recorded, you do not qualify for a gift.
Ooh, we had a close tie, but it looks like Roland slightly beat out another commenter.
Who is the other? Let's give them both.
Victoria and Roland both came
and Victoria.
veto.
You're feeling generous today. You get Peace Fan swag. It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
So, just DM us on your favorite social media platform or email us or enter your email into the chat box and your address, and we'll get that fulfilled. Typically, we don't fulfill stuff until Friday, so just, you may have to wait a few days to get your swag. Maybe you'll get a cool tie-dye t-shirt, or Adam is modeling the hoodie.
Yep.
I have an old version of the beanie. We don't have these versions anymore, but we do have other beanies. Well, so that's a lot of information. This went on longer than I thought, kind of unscripted. Thanks for joining last minute, Adam.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We really, really appreciate everyone taking the time. You're watching this on the recorded feed. Hope it was good information. We have a whole bevy of video. Like, go to our YouTube channel. There are hours and hours of instructional videos, how we build the van videos, customer interviews. Just feel free to poke around, get comfortable. But remember a couple things. Number one, I know this sounds weird, but the end of the mattress is honestly, it's no big deal to us. I was just over at Mercedes today, and they were talking about just the headache of supporting all the vans, all the vehicles they deprecate every year. Number two, if you want a van before summer, let's get an order in ASAP. We really don't want to disappoint you. Right now, we're scheduling April, May deliveries. By January, that will be May, June. By February, it'll be June, July. So you want your van this summer. And then finally, I'm going to give a plug for our Fly, Try, Buy program.
Yep.
You can come out to Seattle, fly out, take a van for a night or two to one of our private campsites. Joanna will stock the van, will educate you, and you can go out for a night of camping or 2 nights of camping even. And if you have a good time and you buy a van, we will credit the cost of your flight, one person, and the cost of that van for the rental fee. We'll charge you the rental fee, which I think is $225 a night or something. If you don't buy the van, you'll have to just chalk it up to a great trip out to the Pacific Northwest. But if you buy a van, you're going to get a discount off of your invoice. So I think I'll give a plug for that. And also, if you're not quite ready to buy a van too, there are rentals all summer long. Rentals are filling up. I looked last night, the first week of July, sold out. We'll probably add a few more vans, but if you want to rent a Metros van this spring or summer, like get on that soon. I mean, like June and August still have plenty of room, but like that, you know, people start booking aggressively in the next few weeks because they're on their winter vacations. Like, what are we gonna do this summer? Let's rent a van. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been great hanging out. Adam,
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Leo, Taryn, behind the scenes, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out all of our other videos on YouTube.